Hello, classmates. So here I am presenting the main topics of my paper. It is titled Metacognition and Technology in the Classroom, and my name is Sonomar Villegas. I'm going to cover and give an overview of the OCL theory, the ABCs of the OCL theory. OCL, it really goes beyond the instruction and the active learning approach to grow learners into knowledge builders. And knowledge builders goes beyond the learning by doing concept, which is popular in the constructivism theory. It goes beyond that, creating knowledge builders where students are encouraged and supported to work together to create knowledge, to seek the conceptual knowledge, to be able to solve a problem. Teachers play a key role by linking the learner to the to the knowledge community. And basically what the knowledge community is, it requires a group of people working together to build, construct, and conceptualize knowledge. So one of the main roles of the teacher in the OCL theory is to build that knowledge community, to build that culture within the classroom, and then to basically work towards creating knowledge builders within that community. The key to OCL is discourse, and discourse refers to the written or spoken language. Basically anything that's discussion or conversation related is the key foundation to this theory. And Harrison in our text, page 90, states that collaboration and discourse are key to building knowledge. That again is the basis of this theory. Collaborative learning, I just wanted to take a moment to point out what that is. It's basically teaching and learning through talk. So as we talk to one another, we are teaching each other what we know, and we're learning from each other. Students collaborate to find solutions, to improve ideas, and to complete project-based learning activities. And the key here is that it's a process, it's not an activity. So it's not just one activity that leads them to learning, it's the process of learning. The next piece I'm going to talk about is collaborating, technology, and metacognition. So I'm going to kind of pull those together. Basically, just as an overview, metacognition is thinking about thinking. So one's own awareness and consideration of their own thinking process and regulation, which basically means that we are thinking about how we are thinking, and then we're regulating that by making adjustments as needed. Metacognition also assists in knowledge building by automatic unconscious acquisition, which basically means that we are acquiring knowledge unconsciously, but then the knowledge building also increases in active conscious control over that knowledge. So you have knowledge, you don't really know how it got there, and then you are able to build knowledge by thinking about and being conscious about that learning. So the key here being that we're bringing the subconscious to the conscious. Metacognitive strategies. Those involved connecting new information to prior knowledge, selecting thinking strategies intentionally, and then planning, monitoring, and evaluating our think process. So how we're thinking about things. So again, the constructivist theory in that we connect new information to our prior knowledge, but then we think about the strategies we're going to use to kind of fuse that together and build our knowledge. Teachers can develop those strategies by modeling thinking aloud for their students, label the thinking process for students when they use them. So that's huge. Being able to tell a student, you just categorize that information. Did you notice you put all of this in different categories, or whatever it is that they're doing? Paired problem solving. which involves collaboration and discourse. And that's what that looks like is one partner describes the problem and the thinking process to another partner, and that other partner listens and asks questions. So they're probing. So one student is telling the other person, this is the problem and this is how I'm thinking through it, and the other partner is listening and asking questions to help guide the other partner. And then there's also reciprocal teaching, which is where students are grouped in with one student taking the role of the teacher. So this student is then asking and clarifying information for the other students in the class. How does technology relate to metacognition? Well, technology enhances the learning and the potential of learners. There's that unrestricted time and the diverse internet resources. It's, internet is pretty much endless, and there's so much that can be found on there. The online environment provides scaffolding through multiple representations. So kids can watch videos, they can look at pictures, they can read about it. There's different ways that you can reach children. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges for online teachers, because I think it's important that we always be aware of the limitations. Creating a social environment that aids reflection and self-knowledge is difficult, mainly because that's something that you have to create intentionally. You have to create a culture where it's okay to reflect and it's okay to express what you know about things. Training on strategies for thinking can be challenging for teachers, especially when they can't see you and it's all done online or through discussion boards. And then providing complex, ill-defined problems. So being able to provide good examples that students can relate to. The key idea here being that the focus should be on the instructional strategy and not necessarily the technology that's being used, which sometimes we do lose our lessons in, to the technology. Learning is transactional and intentional. Again, that's kind of extending on that previous slide. Transactional learning occurs due to the nature of the relationship between the teachers, the learners, and the content. So again, creating that classroom culture where everyone feels comfortable to share and be okay with errors and support one another. In a transactional learning environment, there's collaboration and construction of knowledge. Learning must be intentional, and it can't be viewed as simply the transfer of knowledge. Learning is not a consequence of a transfer of knowledge. Learning is intentional. This is what we want our kids to know and what we want them to think about. Again, the acquisition of knowledge is not a side effect of teaching. It's intentional. Student-centered online learning, supporting metacognition in action. So, a lot of what OCL is being focused on the student and being student-centered. Social construction of knowledge is supported through discussions. The questioning should be planned so that they are scaffolded and guide students to consider additional points. We want to make sure that the questioning is guiding the students to be more open-minded and think outside the box. Student-centered concepts also support metacognitive skills by promoting reflection, and this reflection could be done in discussion boards, reflective questionings, partner talk, asking students questions such as, what was difficult about this activity? How did you decide on strategies to use to solve this problem? So having students either answer it to you, answer it on a board, or talk to one another about what they felt was difficult, and just that deep reflecting on what they just learned. Finally, the learning needs to be authentic or real. It needs to be based on real problems. And online teaching, it really does provide this opportunity to make construction of knowledge meaningful, because again, there's that scaffolding, that differentiation, that ability for students to do additional research to make deeper connections to what they're learning. So how is it done, and what's the benefit of the whole metacognition technology and implementing that? So for teachers, they can use concept maps. Those can be teacher created, which provides the teacher the opportunity to model their thinking, or it can be created in groups. So students can get together, create a concept map, and then come back together to share it in a big group. And what this does is it allows students who need the big picture to see it, and for those that need the smaller details to see it. So again, the individualization and scaffolding is embedded within the use of concept maps. There's another strategy is the active experimentation of what's being taught. And in this case, the learner is taking responsibility for problem solving and applying what they've learned to solve the problem. So being actively involved in some sort of case study or experimentation of what's being taught. And then finally, educators can design online activities that allow social interactions and collaboration. So again, those online discussion boards, which allow them to consider the viewpoints of others, to take those viewpoints, think about them further and deeper because they have the time to do so, and then they can construct knowledge before they provide feedback. So it's not that immediate feedback that we require in traditional brick and mortar classrooms. Students have more time to fully develop their answers and fully develop what their knowledge is, or the knowledge that they've constructed is. So what's the big picture here? Putting it all together, here are the key takeaways for you. Number one, learners are social beings. We are all social beings, and we learn through collaboration, interaction, modeling, what others model for us. All learning is based on interactions and relationships, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's at home. Collaboration is the basis of everything we know in the world. Nothing we do in the world that's created is created by one person. It's collaboration. Learning is transactional and involves transforming knowledge. It's a process, and knowledge is not constructed by accident. Teachers must be intentional with their approach. They need to make sure they choose technology that enhances the learning experience for the student, but also focuses on the actual learning they want them to do. Online teachers really have to promote that social interaction and communication. Some students tend to want to work on their own because they're online and they're home and nobody's around them, but you've really got to be creative in promoting the interaction and the communication. Student work needs to be collaborative, meaningful, authentic, and social. This allows for the meaning of what is being learned to be constantly negotiated and renegotiated. So the more that students collaborate with one another, the more that the meaning transforms for them and their knowledge continues to be constructed. Finally, if you'd like more information, more reading materials on this topic, here are my references. Thank you for your time.